High School Musical is the biggest original movie that Disney Channel ever dropped, and it's really not that close. Of course, when the movie first came out, I was in the group that got to watch it live, along with about almost 8 million other children. And apparently that was the most viewed movie that had ever dropped at that moment. But then when High School Musical 2 came out, that one blew the numbers for every other film they've ever put out on that channel out the water. I think it was 17 million or something like that. So yes, we all know that whether it's the start of something new, breaking free, we're all in this together, the song stuck in our head, this was a phenomenon. And then they did the whole, High School Musical, the series, the Disney Plus series thing. All of that happened. But then me and my wife decided we were going to go back and watch just about every Disney Channel original movie they've ever made. And we tried to watch them in order. And what I quickly found out is that Disney Channel has made this movie before. 6 times, in fact. So much so that you could basically argue that High School Musical is effectively plagiarized. Now granted, I guess they're plagiarizing themselves. But yes, this plot is absolutely nothing new, and I've got the receipts to prove it. So I'm going to break down every single film that Disney Channel made before High School Musical came out, where they basically gave us the same thing. And it's almost like they were trying to push this same story over and over and over again, because of course it worked well enough the first time, but when High School Musical itself dropped, it's almost like all the ingredients finally came together for the perfect storm. And yes, the music is a large part of that, and they got that one from the Cheetah Girls. That's what kind of gave Disney the confidence they could go do a whole musical movie with a soundtrack and actually sell it. And for the record, even before High School Musical and all the movies that came before it that were just like it, I called them the prequels. Most Disney Channel original movies, almost without fail, have the same theme. They're always some type of coming-of-age story for a teenage/preteen child who's, learning how to be their best self or be their true self and, let the world know who they really are and what they're passionate about. That's more or less what we're doing in all the original movies. And I'm also not saying that High School Musical or the films they copied it from are bad films. I enjoyed most of them just fine. And the message behind it, I'm not mad at either. But we still gotta call it out that they really tried it. The same thing over and over and over again. Because apparently they thought we weren't gonna pay attention or weren't gonna notice. And as an adult, when I went back, I noticed. And because I am a Christian man, I don't really know how to look at all of this without doing it from that framework. Just putting that out there. Now, let's talk about the High School Musical plot. Because if you need a refresher, these are the bullet points. Troy is the main character. He is an athlete, a basketball player in this case, and his father is his coach. He's the best player on his high school team. And the expectation is that basketball is going to be a large part of his future. His friends and everybody in his circle see him as the basketball guy. He finds out very early that he does enjoy singing, more than he realized. And there's a girl whom he likes, or at least feels something towards, and that's Gabriella. When you add those two pieces together, that she's willing to move forward with singing, he desires to do so, but doesn't think he's going to get support. He tries to do it in secret. So now you have the girl that he likes, but I guess that's kind of secret as well, to some degree. Then she's associated with the thing that he doesn't believe everyone else is going to support. And after, skip over a whole bunch of songs, whether it's, What I've Been Looking For and, Stick to the Status Quo, all of that happens. But his friends find out that he's trying to do the singing thing, and he decides to, kind of ditch that and antagonizes Gabriella along the way. His dad finds out as well and doesn't support him, but everybody sees how sad he is, and eventually he tries to turn things around. He wins over Gabriella. He does both. He does basketball, he does the singing, and it works out. Where he would have the callback. Sharpay as an antagonist, all that's in there. But at the end of the day, he does the callback, things go well. I guess he wins the role, then the team wins the championship, and then everything's right in the world. He has the support from his family, the support from his friends, he gets the girl, he wins the game, and he gets the callback. Everything goes exactly the way one would hope to have a happy ending. That's High School Musical in a nutshell. And like I said before, that plot has been done before in a whole bunch of different iterations, and I'm going to give you the first one and walk in chronological order until that one dropped in 2006. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. I'm Ezra Garnett, and if you really want to know the truth about the hidden messages behind nostalgic TV, then you are in the right place. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. So all the way back in 1998, Disney Channel dropped the movie Brink. It's about Andy Brink Brinker, who his sport of choice is inline skating. His father doesn't support inline skating, and we find that out from the jump. So the difference is that his father isn't the coach, and he doesn't choose a different activity. It's the same activity from start to finish. The difference is that as this plot goes on, he has his circle of friends, and he actually betrays his friends to go out and join a new inline skating team, or a different one called, Team X Blades, where the antagonist, the guy, like the jerk leader of the other team, Val, is kind of the one running things. Brink goes over there for the express purpose to try to win money to help out his family, because his dad actually loses his job. So he's hiding away from his friends, his old friends, hiding away from his parents, specifically his dad. Nobody knows what he's doing as far as, competing for this other team, because his dad said no, that he wasn't allowed to do, compete on a paid team. And once he does it, everybody finds out, and everything kind of, crumbles. But once, he, is able to kind of get back to himself, he makes everything right with his friends. He does compete with them in a championship against Team X Blades. His dad now gives him the support. So it's like, that part is now right in the world. And they go out and they win the championship, and everything is all good. They don't have a love interest per se. He does have a friend, Gabriella, played by Christina Vidal. I mean, they're close, but there's no clear love interest between both of them. And, that's just kind of, installed in the plot. But they don't really go deep on him and her together. That's Brink. And you should see the similarities between the lack of parental support, the breakdown with the friends, having to repair that bridge, winning the championship, having, some type of antagonist on the other end. I mean, yes, Sharpay was the antagonist for High School Musical, where, she really wanted to win the callback, and she didn't want to call back at all for that matter. And in this case, Brink is winning, the inline skating thing, but it is what it is. This is the first version, because remember, between now and High School Musical, they're going to do this 5 more times. And if you actually go back and watch Brink, the way that he wins the championship is with a final race. Now, High School Musical doesn't actually have a final championship race, but they do keep that same energy in some of these other iterations. Because in 1999, Disney Channel came out with Johnny Tsunami. Now you have another situation where you have Johnny, the main character, and he's into surfing, and his father doesn't support that. Him and his grandfather, Johnny's actually really close to his grandfather, who is a surfer. So there's a break in the family, and his dad uproots the entire family, moves them to New Hampshire, where there's no surfing involved because they don't have an ocean. But Johnny continues to, find a way to get back on board. No pun intended, because they did a sequel later. And as a result, he's now snowboarding. He goes to a private school that his dad sent him to. And when he gets into the snowboarding, his dad doesn't support that either. Yes, he makes a friend named Sam, who's played by, Lee Thompson Young, rest in peace. But there's also a love interest, because in this private school, there's a whole, back and forth thing between skiers and snowboarders. And Johnny chooses to align with the snowboarding side. So this girl, Emily, who he likes, she's on the skiing side. They develop a relationship to some degree, but there's another guy who's, the villain, the jerk leader of the skier group, who's Brett. And at the end of the day, his father finds out, doesn't support the snowboarding, he walks away from that. And then after a whole bunch of things go down, everything is right in the world. Him and his father work out their differences. His father starts to support Johnny. Johnny goes out to essentially do a snowboarding, competition championship. It was kind of something to solve the issues, or, kind of put an end to the feud between the skiers and the snowboarders. So they're racing, to kind of, determine who's going to win that. And it's Johnny versus Brett. Johnny wins. He gets the girl. Everything's right with his family. All is right in the world. Once again, we've done this before. Because of the clear love interest, I would actually say this one is even more similar to what you eventually get with High School Musical. That said, the next film, 1 year later, Alley Cat Strike in 2000, where the main character in this case, named Alex, actually does have the support of his family, but there's another main character, and I'm gonna get to that part in a moment. Before I go any further, I gotta point out that the whole East versus West competition thing is what this movie is based on. And we know that when we get to High School Musical, there's another East versus West challenge, where you have a red team and a blue team, and I believe East High is what represents, where Troy is competing from. And the red is still the school that represents our main character in Alley Cat Strike, Alex. And there's, the East versus West debate. They're competing for, the pride of the town, kind of divided down the middle. But there's another character, played by Robert Richard, and he plays Todd McLemore. Todd had the support of his dad as a basketball player. See, basketball is showing up. But now Todd has to compete on the bowling team because that's how the city championship is going to be determined. Again, they have a whole little hook about how they make that for the plot. Alex has his friends who are the bowlers. They're kind of like the, I guess the odd ones out in the school, kind of like, the non-popular kids. And Todd is 100% down with the popular group. So him and Alex become friends. Todd becomes a good bowler over time. And yeah, there's like some stuff around crushes and whatnot, but they don't really focus on that. It's not a major component of the plot. At the end of the day, the way the plot rolls together is Alex is actually a jerk to his friends. So they turn on him for that. Todd, has to make a decision to, show that he's really down with the bowling team and helping them win. At the end of it, their team wins. The red team, they win for the pride of the city. All the parents, everybody, the friends, everybody makes up. All is right in the world. And the big moment is when Todd, who is always used to being, the big sports hero, decides not to take the final shot, or in this case, to bowl the final frame, and gives it to a girl named Delia, who is not considered the best bowler on the team or in the group, but there's a specific shot, a 7-10 split, that she can hit that he can't. So she hits it, the team wins, they win the mighty apple, and there you go. Alley Cat Strike. Specifically the East-West part, that we see come back later, especially with the whole red team scheme that they brought to High School Musical. Still have, the breakdowns with the friends and, kind of like the circumstance around parents and support and all of that. They don't really lean into the love interest part that makes High School Musical tick. And of course, there's no music. But Disney Channel didn't give up. So in 2001, remember, another year later, they came back with the movie Motocrossed. And this one, full disclosure, is actually a copycat of the Shakespeare play Twelfth Night, which you've also probably seen reiterated in She's the Man with Amanda Bynes. Exact same plot. So you have a girl, Andrea Carson, but she goes by Andy. She has a twin brother, Andrew Carson, who also goes by Andy. Her brother is a motocross rider. She enjoys motocross and likes to compete, but her dad doesn't support it. See, we already got the parents, not supporting. And her brother gets hurt. Her dad goes off to find a replacement rider, but Andy steps in, Andrea Carson, and she actually pretends to be her brother. That's where they stole that part from Shakespeare. So now she's pretending to be her brother. The girl, she's, presenting herself as a boy. She goes out there, starts competing on the motocross circuit, representing the family's, motocross team. There's a guy named Dean who she starts to like, but she can't tell him who she really is because she's supposed to be her brother. She actually helps Dean get with somebody else in the context of the plot. Eventually her dad comes back, realizes what's going down, doesn't support her. So now there's that break of, it's really her family more than her friends who kind of, have to deal with coming around or, fully supporting, Andrea. And at the end of it, a bunch of stuff goes down. The replacement rider doesn't work out. He actually goes to another team. And, Dean, who she likes, he finds out the truth about what's going on, but that's much towards the end of the plot. But Andy Carson, Andrea, she does win the motocross championship and all is right with the world. Her dad comes around. He starts supporting her. She, doesn't just win the title, but at the end of it, she gets the guy because Dean ends up coming back to her like in the last scenes, and clearly they're going to be a thing going forward. So there you have it. Motocross. Still doing the same breakdown between the parents and the child. And she's trying to, be her best self. I mean, obviously, because they stole from Shakespeare, you kind of get the cross-dressing aspect, which is another conversation that I'm not getting into. But they tried it. And remember, it's been 1 year after another for a while now. And after this one, I guess Disney took a 2-year break from using this exact same plot again. Because in 2003, they finally came back with Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. By this point, they had started to get it down to a science. Emphasis on started to, because, they still had a few gaps between now and High School Musical, and of course, they didn't throw the music in. That's what made it special. But Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off is about a character named Eddie who plays baseball. Baseball is his sport of choice. His dad is his coach. He's the best player on the team, and baseball is supposed to be his future. You're starting to see the similarities really clearly by now. And in this case, he finds out that he likes to cook, but doesn't expect to get the support from his family or his friends. So he tries to hide it. I mean, his mother finds out, but in general, he tries to hide it from everybody else. So he tries to do both. He tries to do this cooking competition that nobody's supposed to know about. There is a girl named Bridget, but there is not a love interest between him and Bridget. She's just the girl who cooks, and then he joins her, and there's actually more of a rivalry there than anything else because they're competing for the same prize. And he goes into this competition without anybody's knowledge, starts preparing for it, trying to, go back and forth. But eventually his friends find out. They do. And when they do, they don't express support. His dad doesn't express support, so he's down on himself, similar to how Troy was. The difference is, again, there's just no love interest for him to repair. But he does have to make a decision, and he does repair, the bridge between him and his friends. He tries to do both because the baseball game and the cooking competition, like the big championship, are all at the same time. See where I'm going with this? He tries to do the baseball game first, and then he leaves to go to the cooking competition. His team actually goes out there and wins the championship without him because they didn't think they could do it. And on the other side, at the cooking competition, his dad actually comes to help him, expresses total support, and even though he doesn't win, he gets to meet his hero, Bobby Flay, a famous chef who also encourages him, and now all is right with the world. Him and his dad are on the same page, his friends accept that he's more than just a baseball player, he gets to do both. The only ingredient that we're missing now, that they put into one film, is the love interest. So Disney figured that out and then made a correction. So the movie they made right before High School Musical was called Go Figure. And that one dropped in 2005, 1 year before High School Musical. And the only major shift that you may not immediately pick up on, that it's a girl in the center. Because Caitlin Kingsford is a figure skater. That is her sport of choice. And everybody supports her from her family, but she actually gets an opportunity to train figure skating, but the only way to do it is she has to also be on a hockey team, a girls' hockey team. Now, it's not much about her parents, but in general, she goes to this boarding school to do this, figure skating and hockey. She's hiding that she's on the hockey team, and at first she's very resistant, but then puts us all into it. There's a boy who is like a volunteer coach or something with the hockey team, so she had developed a relationship with him, and that starts to pull her down that path of being on the hockey team and so on and so forth. Once, it comes out that she's on both teams, the hockey team and the figure skating, it's kind of like everything comes crashing down. She has to make a decision on who she's going to be and what she's going to focus on. And she repairs the bridges with her teammates from the hockey team, the figure skating thing. She basically decides she's going to try to do, hockey first and then move on to the figure skating because, of course, the championships are on the same day. She goes out there to do both. Of course, there are some dramatics, but she performs well at the figure skating championship. All is right with the world. And although the parents were in support, I guess the stand-in for the parents was her brother. Because her brother is a hockey star, or, he's younger, but that's what he does. So he's jealous the entire time and is against Caitlin doing hockey because he kind of feels like those type of opportunities should go to him. So I guess we get some of that family breakdown where somebody has to come around and support you by the end of it. Brother is a major piece of, allowing her to be able to do both and get from the hockey game or the hockey match all the way to the figure skating rink to compete. So go figure, that drops right before High School Musical. When you consider the love interest, consider the two sports, or in this case, the two activities, the family breakdown of support, and then having to make a decision on what it is you're going to prioritize. The only thing that was really missing from that film is the music. And because the Cheetah Girls hit in 2003, Disney already knew the music would work if they picked the right songs. She just needs to put beautiful people on screen from that point, which is exactly what they did. And then High School Musical was born in 2006, drops in January, and takes over Disney Channel. The biggest thing they'd ever seen up until that moment. And like I said before, High School Musical 2 is even bigger. Bigger than any other movie they've ever put out on that channel. From this point on, it's almost like Disney was like, we did it. We don't really need to try that hard anymore. They've been trying to perfect the exact same film 6 times, in fact, before High School Musical worked. Later on, they came back with Johnny Capahala Back on Board, which is just a sequel to Johnny Tsunami. It was kind of weird that they did the sequel 8 years later. But yes, Johnny Tsunami, they ran it back. And we already know High School Musical 2 came out, and then High School Musical 3 ends up going to theaters. The only other time that Disney clearly was running it back with the exact same plot structure was Let It Shine, all the way down in 2012, which is 5 years later from the original High School Musical. Let It Shine is not a sports movie, but we have exact same dynamics without getting into the details, where there's a love interest, there's a father who doesn't support his son wants to be in hip-hop and rap, so he kind of hides it, tries to do both, like do what his dad wants him to do, leading, worship leading with the church, but also doing the hip-hop thing on the side. Eventually, everybody finds out. He has to repair some bridges. Eventually, his dad starts to support him, and he does a rap competition. He wins. He gets the girl. Like, the difference was this time they baked music directly into the plot, similar to High School Musical. That's exactly what they did. They just baked it straight in there. So it was a clear run it back moment. I mean, it looked different, but it's the same thing for the most part. On a personal level, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with Disney reusing this exact same plot. But the fact that they did it as chronically and nobody really paid attention, it brings me back to the idea that when you are a network, profits are your priority, even beyond creativity. Because you can work hard to come up with brand new ideas, and people may not appreciate it. Disney Channel had some movies where they tried it, like they tried to be different. But the ones that were the most successful were, generally speaking, when they took the formula that they already knew worked. Sometimes they could sell that exact same formula over and over and over again to the exact same kids. And as long as it looked a little bit different on the surface, they bought it. And what's most concerning to me is not the fact that Disney remade the same movie over and over again. I don't think the movie itself or the plot structure is the problem. But if they could do this many times, and nobody really pay attention or notice, what else might they be doing the exact same thing with? Because Disney Channel didn't just trick an entire generation into falling in love with High School Musical. They knew they could pull it off by simply taking the best pieces of all the films that came before High School Musical. And of course, making sure that the soundtrack actually slaps when it's all done. If you actually made it all the way to the end of this video, I do have to admit that thank you doesn't do it justice anymore, because you are a real one. And if anything that I said at all actually connected with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.